The rain poured heavily that night, and Mrs. Gloria sat on the cold floor of her small bedroom, crying. Her hands covered her face, and her whole body shook. Mr. Peter stood at the door, his eyes filled with anger and pain. "So this is what you have been doing behind my back," his voice cracked. "You betrayed me, Gloria." She looked up at him, her face wet with tears. "Peter, please, let me explain. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted a child." For 8 years, Mr. Peter and Mrs. Gloria had been married. They had a happy home, but there was one thing missing: a child. Mrs. Gloria wanted a baby more than anything. She had prayed, fasted, and tried every herbal medicine people recommended, but nothing worked. One day, a friend whispered to her about a powerful pastor who could help. "He performs miracles," the friend said. "Many women have gone to him, and now they have children." Desperate, Mrs. Gloria went to see the pastor. He was a tall man with a deep voice and kind eyes. He listened to her and then sighed. "My daughter, this is a spiritual problem," he said. "You are under a curse. But don't worry, I can help you." Her heart filled with hope. "Please, Pastor, I will do anything." "You must be cleansed," he said. "But it is a deep spiritual matter. Only a special prayer with me, alone, can break the curse." She trusted him. She believed his words. And that night, she went to meet him in secret. He led her to a quiet room in the church and told her the prayer needed her to be connected to him in a special way. He lied to her. He took advantage of her desperate heart. She agreed because she wanted a child so badly. Months passed. Nothing happened. She was not pregnant. The pastor ignored her, and soon she realized the terrible truth: he had tricked her. One evening, Mr. Peter found out. He overheard a conversation between his wife and her friend. His heart broke into pieces. "How could you, Gloria?" he shouted. "We were in this together. We could have waited, prayed more, tried again. But you did this." Mrs. Gloria wept. "I thought I was helping us. I only wanted to give you a child." Mr. Peter shook his head. "This marriage is over. I can never trust you again." And just like that, everything they built for 8 years came crashing down. The home they shared, the love they had, it was gone. Mrs. Gloria sat in the empty house, her heart heavy with regret. If only she had been patient. If only she had trusted the love she and her husband shared. But now, it was too late. The rain continued to pour outside, just like the tears falling from her eyes. Mrs. Gloria had always been a woman of faith, a woman who believed that everything happened for a reason. But as she sat in the silence of the house that was once filled with love, she realized that faith alone was not enough. She had let her desperation cloud her judgment. She had let a stranger take advantage of her pain. The days after Mr. Peter left were the hardest. The house felt too big, too empty. Every corner reminded her of the life they had built together, the laughter, the dreams, the love. She stopped going to church. She avoided her friends. She could not bear their pity or their whispers. One day, as she sat by the window, watching the world go on without her, she heard a knock on the door. It was her friend, Ruth, the same friend who had told her about the pastor. "Gloria, you can't keep hiding," Ruth said gently. "You need to move on." Mrs. Gloria shook her head. "How can I? I lost everything. Peter is gone. I have no child. I have nothing." Ruth sighed. "You still have yourself, Gloria. You made a mistake, yes. But you are not the only one. That pastor has tricked many women. You were not the first, and you won't be the last." Mrs. Gloria looked at her friend, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "What do you mean?" There are others, Gloria. And they are speaking out. Some of them have gone to the police. We cannot let him keep doing this. For the first time in months, Mrs. Gloria felt something other than pain. She felt anger. She felt the need for justice. She had been fooled, but she would not stay silent. She had lost her marriage, but she would not lose herself. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, she began to heal. She joined the women who had suffered like her. She shared her story. She found strength in their voices. And when the pastor was finally arrested, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders. But something else lingered. Nightmares. Shadows in the dark. The house creaked in ways it never had before. She started hearing whispers when she was alone, the voice of the pastor murmuring prayers that sent chills down her spine. One night, she woke up to find her bedroom door open. She was sure she had locked it. The air was heavy, thick with an unseen presence. The fear she thought she had left behind was crawling back into her bones. Was it guilt? Or was something truly haunting her? She sought help from an elder woman in the village, Mama Nkechi, who was known for her wisdom. Spirits do not rest easily when justice is not fully served, Mama Nkechi told her. That pastor, he played with darkness. And sometimes, darkness follows. Mrs. Gloria shivered. What do I do? You must confront it. Speak to it. And find true closure. The night after, she lit a candle and sat in the middle of her bedroom. She whispered a prayer, her voice shaking. I was fooled, but I will not be afraid anymore. You have no power here. The candle flickered violently. The air turned cold. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the presence vanished. Mrs. Gloria knew she had won. Mr. Peter never came back. Their love had been broken beyond repair. But Mrs. Gloria learned something valuable. She was more than a wife, more than a woman desperate for a child. She was strong. She was enough. And as she stood in the rain one evening, feeling it wash away the past, she whispered to herself, I will be okay. Because she knew, deep in her heart, that she would.